All right, Ian, so tell me about this V60. When I look at it, I see these crazy spiral things going on. I don't know if you can see the big hole I can stick my entire finger through. That looks intimidating to me, so talk to me about that.
Yeah, so the V60 is kind of your quintessential specialty pour-over brewer. You see them in all over the place in high-end cafes, and they are really favored by specialty shops because you can brew some really fantastic cups of coffee with them, but it takes another level of care, of technique, beyond the French press and beyond some of the other pour-over methods.
Okay.
But the technique itself is fairly simple. So I'm going to start by, we've got our nice cone filters here. I prefer the white bleached filters.
Okay.
Just because they have a cleaner taste. There's less of a papery kind of aftertaste you get. And just to make sure I don't have any papery taste, I'm going to come in here and do a little pre-wet so that the filter is nicely rinsed. There's no kind of paper taste going on. And it's also preheating my brewer and my cup.
And we've got these special Hario V60 filters that we got on Amazon. Why can't I just use something I would pick up at the supermarket? What's the difference with this filter versus, say, a Melita filter or something like that?
Yeah, the Melita filters they start the same shape, they have that cone shape, but then they have a flat bottom, so it's not going to fit in the filter properly. But if you find other filters that are a cone that will fit, you can absolutely use them. You'll just get a little bit of a different result.
And this feels different too versus the Melita. So here's the Melita. It's got that flat bottom right there. This one feels more coarse. This one has a softer texture. Does that affect the flavor as well?
Yeah, the V60 filters are a little bit thinner, I would say, but a tighter paper. So it seems to filter out.
It's like a higher thread count if we were talking about bed sheets or something like that.
Just about.
I'm tired, so bed sheets sound nice right now. Okay, but the coffee's going to help too. So
exactly.
Great.
So for 1 cup, I use 20 grams of coffee, ground to kind of a medium fine setting.
So now that was on Baratza Encore grinder setting 12, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So fairly fine. It's kind of like kind of between sea salt and kosher salt, like on the finer end of things.
Okay. I do like the finer things, so.
Exactly. All right, so I'm gonna just go ahead and toss that coffee in my pre-wetted filter. And I'm gonna pick up the whole thing, give it a little shake, so I have a nice flat surface to start with.
Okay.
And I'm gonna make sure that my scale is zeroed out, so I'm only weighing the water at this point. And I'm gonna start my timer. So my first pour is just gonna be about 30 grams of water.
Now, is that critical that we weigh that first step? Or is it just to bloom the coffee, let everything get?
It's pretty much just to bloom the coffee. It's, I'd say between 30 and 50 grams is enough water. You really just kind of want to gently wet the whole surface.
Great.
And you'll see the coffee kind of expand. You'll see some bubbles kind of popping on the surface, and then it'll settle back down a little bit. All right, so we've reached 30 seconds. I'm gonna add water so that my scale reads 100 grams.
And you're pouring in a circular fashion. What's the purpose behind that? Why not just dump it straight in? I used to try to do my pour overs with a barista steaming pitcher. We've got this gooseneck kettle. What's going on with those things?
Yeah, so I want to make sure that I'm wetting the surface of the coffee evenly. I don't want there to be any dry spots, any spots where all the water is going, and I'm being pretty gentle.
And I've heard the term channeling. For those of you at home, if you're interested in what that looks like, if you pour a big, massive chunk of water in there, it's just gonna dig a hole right through the grounds. One time I had my wife make me coffee. I was really, really sick. And after the grounds had poured through, I brought her over. Honey, can you come here for a second, please? And I said, did you pour in a circular fashion slowly? Because these grounds clearly indicate that you didn't. And I will say with true honesty, that was the last cup of coffee she made me. That was about 12 years ago.
Indeed.
I deserved it.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, at this point, I'm adding my last bit of water. So I'm using a total of 300 grams of water for this recipe.
So we use 20 grams in.
I split it kind of in 3 chunks.
Okay.
So the bloom is the first little part. That's just to gotta get everything pre-wet. And then after that 30 seconds, I'm going up to 100 grams. After about 20 to 30 seconds more, up to 150 grams.
Okay.
And then another 20 to 30 seconds up to the full 300 grams.
Okay. So if that's confusing, don't worry. It's not as bad as it sounds. The scale really does help. We also recommend a 15-to-1 water to coffee ratio. So we used 20 grams in of coffee, 300 grams of water. Do the math, that's 15-to-1. Just if you're scared of numbers, just trust us on that.
Yep.
But that's a pretty simple calculation that you can do.
Now, a good sign that your pour over is going well is that as the coffee drains, you want to see a nice flat surface of the grounds on the bottom. And that'll kind of let you know
And that's what I didn't see when my wife made me the cup of
evenly.
coffee.
Exactly.
I was trying to help.
Indeed you were. So, and ideally our cup would finish brewing at about 2.5 minutes. And I know it's done when it's no longer a stream, but it's dripping. And I don't have anything to put this on.
I'll hold it.
Here we go.
Here we go. I put mine on the edge of the sink. It drives my wife crazy. We get along great, I promise. She just, the coffee thing.
Yeah. So, and now this is done. And it's gonna give you a very smooth, very bright cup, very well-balanced flavors.